Hello there. I'll wait a few minutes before we get started, as always, so that people can come join us. I'll wait just a few more minutes before we get started. So maybe until 5:01 or 5:02 here in Central Time. All right. Just a few more seconds. I'm going to practice sharing my screen. And let's see if I did this correctly. 1 second. Share screen. Share computer sound. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think y'all should be able to see my screen. There, that's nice. Okay. This session, one of my friends normally conducts this workshop with me, but he wasn't able to make it today's workshop time. So we have a pre-recorded one right here. And I'm just going to stay on, and as you have questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them during the workshop, and I'll be answering them live during this workshop. It's just that the lecture itself will be this video I have right here. And all of this will go up on our website after it's over, so that you can refer back to it later. All right, I think that's all. I'm just checking. Okay, the schedule looks like it's correct. Cool. Okay, and everyone can see my screen, right? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started then. Let me know if the audio isn't working by spamming the chat if the audio is not working. Okay.
Hi, everyone. We're so glad you can make it to our workshop. My name is Surya Chokar, and I'm one of the co-founders of Modulus.
And my name is Daniel, and I'm the CEO of Modulus.
Great. So yeah, we're going to be providing you with an introduction to entrepreneurship. There's no way to give you all the information on how to get a successful startup going, but we think that if you follow these steps, most likely you will either have an edge over other people starting a startup, or it should be a pretty successful startup. So we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, so before we begin, the first thing you'll want to do is actually sign up on Modulus, which is our platform for teaching courses and workshops just like these. So to do that, you'll want to head to modulusedu.com and then click sign in on the top right, and then click sign up to make an account. It takes about 5 seconds to put in your name, your password, and everything. And then once you're in, you'll want to hit browse on the far top left, and then scroll down to the course that says From Hackathon to Startup, which is today's course, and then click enroll. And there we're going to be posting updates, tips and tricks, links, and any other resources we find that might be helpful for you on your journey in the future. So right now we'll give you about 5 minutes, and at the end of the 5 minutes, we're going to move on. This is a pretty important step. So go ahead, follow the instructions on screen. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Yes, let me do that. And let me know if you encounter any issues. And if not, we're going to move ahead in about 3 minutes. This is how you'll be able to access our course in the future. We'll keep it updated actually over as time goes on. Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't send the chat. I'm not great at using Zoom. Okay, you should be able to see the link in the chat now. Yes, you want to press enroll. So once you're on this page that's pictured, you just click enroll and then you'll be inside the course. And then once you're done, let me know in the chat or raise your hand. Either way will work. And then I'll move on once I see a bunch of people raising their hand. Two, three, four, five. Okay. We have 30 participants, so I'll give it like another minute or so, and then we'll go through. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going. Let me know if I'm moving too fast.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so here's a quick outline of the presentation. We're going to start with leaving off right where this hackathon ends. What's next for your product or your big idea? And then we're going to go over the implications of creating a startup, the steps to actually launching one, and then we're going to go over where we are now as a company and answer some questions that you might have. So here's what happens after the hackathon, right? So ideally, after the hackathon ends, you have what's known as an MVP. And this stands for minimum viable product. And it's the nucleus of any tech startup that is founded in recent decades. The thing is, most hackathon ideas die right after they're being founded at the hackathon. But if you want to continue to grow your idea after the hackathon, you want to create a startup. This allows you to scale your business sustainably into the future. And the MVP that you created during your hackathon is going to become the core of your new product for your startup.
Okay.
So there's, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Did you have more to say about the previous one?
Nope, we're good.
Sounds great. So whenever you start a startup, there's more to it than just your product. The product itself is only one aspect of any successful startup. There's much that needs to be done both behind the scenes and in terms of marketing and stuff like that. So no matter what product you have, you will need to work on that product, but there are other aspects that are equally important or in certain cases more important. For example, no matter how good your product is, most likely no one will know about the product until you get it out there. So in that regards, marketing is quite important as well. Overall, startups are generally very time consuming, at least in the beginning, as you really have to get stuff started and get momentum going. After that, there is mostly going to be exponential growth if your product is successful. And of course, there are also other factors, like if your product isn't successful immediately, you might have to refactor or redevelop certain parts of it to target a new audience or change it a bit so it can be more successful. So it's just not about just the coding, and there are a lot of other aspects. And I didn't even start to mention finances yet. So just keep that in mind if you do want to start a startup, as you will need a lot of time in order to ensure it's successful.
All right. Oh, wait. Never mind. Keep going. So now we're going to go on to actually starting the startup, creating the growth that actually drives your product into success. And the most critical step in that process is known as team building. The vast majority of startups fail. This is a well-known fact. In fact, I believe the statistic is that up to 90% of startups fail. And of those 90%, 75% fail because the team falls apart. So this is probably the most critical step you're going to ever make. Coming out of hackathon, you probably already have a team. If you know everyone in the team very well and you know you work together well, then your team is basically set. But if you don't, you might want to rearrange the team a bit so that you have the best possible chances of success in the future. To build a good team for your startup, you'll want a CEO. This is the person that directs the entire company at large and has a vision for where the company should go. You'll also want developers, preferably multiple, to handle actually creating your product, as well as people to help market the product and people to help manage business and paperwork.
So one of the first steps, as soon as you have your team, is market research. Market research is crucial to the success of your project as a whole, as it tells you which group to focus in on. One of the first things you need is to know what you have that the customer or any consumer wants. So for Google, this might have been a search engine, and for iPhone, of course, it is a phone that is easy to use and very intuitive. Whatever your product is, you have to realize which audience specifically wants it and needs that product. This will be called your niche, and audience is just one part of your niche. Next, you have to find out how you're going to enter that market. Practically every market that we currently have has other players in it, which ties into the final point, which is evaluating your competitors. No matter which sector of industry you are in or what product you have, there will be other people who are currently more established in that area. And also, there are certain opportunities that might be easier to enter into. For instance, for Christmas lights, during Christmas may be a great time to enter into that market, as there's going to be a large demand for it. And therefore, people might be more willing to try out new things, or just overall more demand for your sector as a whole. And evaluating competitors is actually quite imperative, as the number one question consumers will have when offered your product is, what's different about you? Or what do you offer that I can't get from someone else who might be cheaper or might be more established already? And so if you have a way to differentiate yourself from your competitor, something that shows that you're either better or more suited for your specific niche's needs, well, then consumers are more likely to purchase your product instead of someone else's. And that will be how you start generating business.
All right, so probably the next most important thing in creating your startup is developing your product and making sure you've tested it against your users. For a startup to be successful, the product needs to be excellent. This means three main things needs to happen with that product. Number one, it needs to be feature complete. What that means is that your users should expect everything they expect of a product of yours, your product should be able to do. The idea is that your product needs to transform your user's life, even if only to a minor degree, to some scale. This is, for instance, how Canvas, another educational platform, tried to make their platform more holistically appealing to its users by incorporating every possible feature into that product. The next important thing about your product is that it needs to be well designed. This is where products like Canvas actually fall flat. Your users need to find it simple and intuitive to use your product in order for them to tell their friends about it and to encourage growth in the future. Finally, your product needs to be bug-free. Don't break the user's experience. If you break a user's experience, they'll actually spread word about your product as well, but it'll be bad word. It'll be like, don't use this thing because it sucks. And that runs opposite to growing your company. So you want to have these main three features in whatever product you develop. And the way to make it happen is through user testing. Chances are the hackathon product that you've created isn't really that great. It probably hits one or two of these features at maximum. But through user testing, you can actually get to achieving all three steps. User testing comes through two main facets. The first is case studies. This is where you invite groups of, say, 5 users at maximum that have never used your product before, and you track them as they go through your product and they use out the features and they test it, they encounter things and they see for breaks. This is the best way to gain valuable insight into how people expect to use your product. The second thing is analytics. You'll want to set up an analytics service such as Google Analytics, which can track how users use your website without you actively watching them. And then this can provide you with additional data through which you can further refine your product. So next is branding. And branding is an interesting and often, oddly enough, controversial topic, because some people find it incredibly important and some people think it matters very little. And in reality, like all other things, it probably lies in the middle somewhere. But when you're thinking about the branding for your company, you'll want to have three main things. You want your company or product name. The name can either be extraordinarily unique or extraordinarily common. Common names come with the disadvantage of them being confused for other products, but with the benefit of being easy to find on the internet. Unique names might not reflect what you're actually selling, but they'll stand out a lot and they'll stick in people's heads. The second thing you'll want is a logo. Logos have a few basic rules. One of them is that the design of your logo should be simple and clean, so that when you sponsor things or when you print out posters and merchandise, you can scale that logo to whatever size you want and it will still work. Another thing that goes along with logos actually is your typeface, which is your fonts that are used. If you look at the evolution of the Modulus logo, actually, you can see that we went from what's known as a serif font to a sans serif font, which means we went from the old typeface to a newer one. And this made the entire interface look cleaner, faster, and more modern. And that leads us directly into our third point, which is rebranding. Sometimes companies will have to rebrand as they find their target audience has changed or their total aesthetic has changed. And this is totally okay. It doesn't involve much additional paperwork at all. And by rebranding, you're often able to give your company a fresh start.
Okay, so another big part of creating a company is all sorts of legal matters. These are usually kind of, in my opinion, less fun than the actual starting of the company, but of course, definitely important and crucial that you do finish this. One of the first things you will have to do is incorporate. There are several different ways you can incorporate, but the most popular way is either a sole proprietorship or an LLC, and you'll want to incorporate under Delaware. So what this means is, the two different options are sole proprietorship, which means that you are the only owner of the company. So this is beneficial as you can make any decision, you're given greater freedom, and there's less paperwork that you have to do for certain actions. However, let's say that in some cases you do get sued or something wrong happens with your company. The bank can come after all of your assets, or all the company's matters will eventually transfer over directly to you. So you have essentially no protection from any legal action. The other form of company I mentioned is the LLC. This is the Limited Liability Corporation. Under the LLC, you have complete protection as the company is essentially separate from you entirely. And so while you may run the company is an entirely different entity. But there is a little more paperwork and you cannot take actions as easily. Another thing is, generally in hackathons, we might be competing from ages 16 to 18 or even 10 to 16. And at these ages, you aren't legally allowed to start a company. So then you have two different options. You can either use an agent, you have two different options for agents. You can either hire an agent, or you can ask your parents or someone that you know over 18 to be your agent. An agent is essentially just a third party helping mediate things in order to make sure that everything is overseen by an adult. And therefore, all they have to do is fill out the paperwork and just act as a proxy. Assuming your incorporation does go through, which means that there is no other company by your same name, or else you will get rejected, you will eventually be able to file for your employment identification number. This works as a social security number for your business, and it is also quite important to have. Another quick note to mention is, to incorporate your company, it will take a decent amount of money, so just make sure that you are ready to do that as well. Your employment identification number actually allows you to do a multitude of things, the most important of which is probably your bank account. You can now create a company bank account, which is quite necessary for an LLC, with your employment identification number, and you can start using that to receive all your payments and stuff like that. For certain types of companies, it's important to get permits and permissions. Shipping internationally or working with certain materials, you will need permits to do that. And if you think your product might need one, make sure you do acquire those. And finally, trademark protection. By using any given name, you already have access and rights, exclusive rights to that name. However, sometimes it could be beneficial to go ahead and get more trademark protection just to ensure, and in certain cases, it will be necessary. And you can go ahead and search it up or talk to a lawyer or attorney to make sure and check whether you need that or not. But these are the legalities. And then, of course, once you finish, there is, I believe, a fee you need to pay every 4 years or 3 years, depending on your company status, to keep your company running. But that fee will be much lower than whatever you pay for incorporation. With regards to finances, obviously every company's goal is to increase their revenue. But the first thing you need is to actually fund your company. I already mentioned a few expenses, and there will always be more expenses. So there's a few ways you can actually fund your company. Whenever you incorporate, you should always also find a way to split your equity. As Daniel mentioned, most of you guys will have to create a team, which means that there will be people you will have to split your equity with. However, it's important to also keep some equity aside to ensure that you can sell it if you need any investors to come into your company, and therefore also provide you a way for funding. Another option to make sure that the equity isn't split too soon is you can make an agreement where the equity only goes to your team members after a given time period. So if a team member is no longer cooperating with the rest of the group and wants to split, they do not take a percentage of the company with them, and rather that percentage is split against all the members that remain. Your revenue is the amount of money that you will be making, and that will only come after successful marketing of your product and when consumers begin buying it. Investments are much easier to get in the initial stages, simply because investors are likely to invest in companies that are just starting up that they believe will pick up as they get the most return on their investment. How this would most likely work is one of two ways. There are angel investors, which will provide you money for no interest rate, but of course you will have to pay them back. This is for people who do not want to sell any portion of their company and just want money without any interest. You may also get a loan from the bank. However, that will have an interest rate on it. And the final option is to sell a portion of your company to an investor, which they will purchase from you, and then they will own a stake in your company, and you can use the money that they pay you to advance your company through our marketing, advertising, product development, and things like that. Finally, marketing and outreach. This is another big expense, as marketing takes place through the use of ads and other things. For you guys, since you will be coding, you can use other hackathons to promote your product by creating workshops, or even just asking the hackathon to give you a shout out. Nonprofits are also a big player. Though they are nonprofits, they still have grants, and therefore they still do have a money flow. So if your product does cost money, don't be afraid to reach out to nonprofits, as they do have to spend their money on something, and they could use your product if it is suitable to them. A lot of times other organizations, small businesses, and independent businesses will also be looking forward to some of these partnerships, and they would be more than happy to pay for your product given that it is suitable. Due to our increasing media presence in this world or in this decade, you will absolutely need to have social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are all quite necessary. And then with the current TikTok trend, it may even be beneficial to create a TikTok account for your company. On social media, it's really, really beneficial to you if you can capture the audience of other similarly associated companies. So for example, if they give you a shout out and you give them a shout out, or some other collaboration, you can try to appeal to their audience as well, which is obviously interested in your type of product as they are following the other group. And finally, as I've said, you have to run advertisements. This will take money, but it is quite effective. The conversion rate will not be that high. However, any clients at the beginning stages are extremely beneficial, as the money that they pay you can go right back into advertisements, and you can start building your brand and your product. So now Daniel will talk about where Modulus is now.
All right, so using these exact methods, Modulus actually grew quite a bit. Modulus, which you might not know, is the outgrowth of another hackathon. We won the best educational impact at Teens Take on COVID and placed among the top 5 in the world in the CoVLab Global Hackathon. And it was our desire to bring this hackathon idea to the next level that led us to start this entire startup company that we have here. So some statistics about where we are now using the exact same methods that we taught you during this workshop. We've reached 25 nonprofit clients from 5 continents that are actively using Modulus and Modulus affiliated services to run their educational campaigns. We have over 700 users spread across the continental US, Sweden, Saudi Arabia, and India. And some projections by the end of next year, we'll probably have over 10,000 users and 50 organizational clients that will be using Modulus on a daily basis. All right, we're going to open it up for a Q&A now. If you want to check out our website, which you should have already done to enroll in this course, you can do so at modulusedu.com. You can shoot us an email at hello@modulusedu.com. There's our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And we're open for questions now. Yep, so I'm open for questions. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask, or do use the Q&A feature. I think there's a Q&A feature on Zoom. I'll leave this screen up in case you want any of these links. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask me. Additionally, if you have any questions about like high school and stuff in general, you can also ask me. I am open to that for like the next 10 to 15 minutes. We can just handle questions. Yes, I'm in high school. I am a senior in high school. This is my last year. Yeah, senior in high school, and I still can't figure out how Zoom works. Do you want me to stop share? No. Yeah, I can still see the screen, right? Okay, cool. Someone asked what high school? I go to Seven Lakes High School, if you know that. It's in Houston, Texas. It's a pretty large public high school in Houston, Texas. We're very good at sciencey stuff. Emily asks, how do you go through the legal processes for Modulus? Okay, so full disclaimer, I don't handle the legal side of the company. That's actually my friend who couldn't make it to today's workshop, unfortunately. But some overall stuff is basically if you go to, I think it's called the IRS like taxable entity search, they can give you a PDF where you fill out a bunch of paperwork, including the name and your name and like your street address and all of that type of stuff. And you just send it over to them. You have to mail it in a package to Austin, Texas. And at least I'm in Texas, that's where we incorporated. And they'll get back to you and establish the company. If you want to establish a sole proprietorship, which is the first type of company that we listed, you don't even need to fill out any paperwork at all. You can just get started. Patrick asks, do you have a recording for each video call? Yes, I do. We'll be posting all of the recordings up on the Kid Teach Kid website. Let me actually pull it up real fast. I think the link is somewhere here, if I remember correctly. Did I put it here? Hold on. I think it's like hackathon recordings. Oh, rip, I forgot. Hold on. Oh, hackathon session recordings. Here we go. All of our links for all of the recordings will be posted on this site here. The link is in the chat. All right, other questions. Let me drag Zoom windows around. Done. Okay. Someone asked, is Modulus a profit or a nonprofit? So it's technically a for-profit organization. We do make a small amount of money off of our business, but it's not, it's like kind of in the middle. If you want to know technically, there's a thing called a social enterprise, which is a company that's designed to do good things for society. And that's what we are. We're a social enterprise. I know many people that have started nonprofits that are also doing very well. So both options are very equally valid. Emily also asks, what part of the company do I run? I run, okay, so it's a bit complicated. I mostly do two things. I do advertising and sales. That means reaching out to businesses and potential customers. And I also do coding. So you can ask me computer science questions. I'm well-versed in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and Java. So I'm also the coder for the platform. I programmed the whole thing, actually. So when you went to the website earlier on and signed up for a course, all of that was code I put into the system. Another person asks, how many hours per week do you spend working on Modulus? That's a hard question. And it's a hard question because it varies a lot. Sometimes we don't get much business at all and nothing much happens. And I'll just spend like a total of like 3 hours a week. That's like 30 minutes a day, just checking in on stuff. Sometimes like the website crashes and then I spend like 30 hours in that week trying to get it to work again. So sometimes it's pretty nasty. Okay. What does your company do? Okay, so Modulus is an education company. It's called EdTech. And that stands for education tech. So we present technology that helps you learn. It's kind of like Canvas. It's designed for people to publish courses online without all of the complexity of Canvas, because Canvas is a really, really, really hard to use application with a ton of features. And for most teachers, you only need to publish a few files here and there, or upload some lecture videos. So that's what we're doing. Andy asks, what is the Modulus course code? Oh, do you want the course code for our course? Hold on, let me get it. Was this it? Nope, here it is. Okay, cool. All right, the course code is in the chat now. Okay. The next question is, how long did it take to write the code? It took a really long time. I started working on the code in, I think, February or March of this year, back when quarantine had just started, because I was bored. And then I just kept on working on it. I think I finished around like 1 or 2 months later. When did you start Modulus? Approximately February or March. It was like early quarantine. Okay, if you have any other questions. Li Huang asks, when is the hackathon starting? Oh, the hackathon is started. You can start coding whenever you want. We have a ton of classes, but you can pop into these classes at any time. And in your free time between classes, you can just work on the project. It can be basically over anything. So feel free to get started. Someone asked, how do your eyes not pop out? I do have really bad vision. If I take off my glasses, I can't see anything. But like, I've always had bad vision. Like, I got glasses in like 2nd grade, y'all. Emily asks, any thoughts on high school homework management? That's a good question. Here's what I would say. It really depends on the type of student you are. Some students like are really, really good at English and writing and art and need to spend a ton of time on math and science in order to be good at it. Some people are really good at math and science and don't have to spend a ton of time on English. So I would say know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are, and spend your time carefully and strategically to work on your weaknesses. If you want to be like an all-A student, I'm not an all-A student. I've had a few, 1 or 2 Bs, maybe 3 over the course of my high school. If you want to be an all-A student, you'll want to patch up the stuff you're not naturally talented at, because most people are not talented at everything. So you want to put time, I would just say be very careful with your time. Put time into the stuff that you're not very good at to get it to an A level. For homework from classes that you are very good at, honestly, the homework doesn't matter as much. The teachers just need grades. So do it just quickly and move on to the stuff that matters. Someone else asks, how many people are working on Modulus? I think our current team is about size 10. We have like a few people in Houston and a few people in Los Angeles. Someone else asks, what clubs did you join in high school? Ooh, that's a really good question. And I have a ton of clubs. So I'll just go off the top of my head. I'm in the school orchestra. I am a violist. You can make viola jokes if you're an orchestra and you know what I'm talking about. I am the first chair violist actually at Seven Lakes High School. What else? Science Olympiad is another great club. It's really fun. Y'all should join that. What else? I also do Kid Teach Kid, obviously this nonprofit that's behind this hackathon. They're really, really good. You should continue to go to all of the activities that are organized. They're brilliant. Dang, I don't know what other clubs I'm in. I'm on the student council team where I do volunteering for lots of random projects. I'm in a club called Voyage Mentorship where we do a bunch of tutoring. Some of you might have attended my computer science lessons in the past. Might. I can't remember all the clubs I'm in, honestly. I have a ton. Yeah, I see people in orchestra. That's cool. Nice. I don't do sports, unfortunately, because I honestly really don't have the time. But, okay, so here's the thing. In junior high, I used to do sports and I injured my knees really badly, so I haven't done sports since. And that's just, yeah, yikes. Oh, cello gang. Cellos are awesome. If I didn't play the viola, I would choose cello. All right, other people asking questions. Are all the employees paid at Modulus? We are all paid, but we don't have much income coming in right now. So we're not getting paid very much. Oh, just as a word of warning, starting a business is pretty difficult. I would say the first 2 years, you probably don't make much revenue at all. Again, I do finance. I mean, sorry, rephrase. I don't do finance in the company. I do advertising and I do programming. So someone asked, how many APS did you take? Oh, like AP classes? A ton. Okay, off the top of my head, AP World History, AP US History, AP Biology, AP Physics 2, AP Physics 1, AP Music Theory, which I'm currently taking, AP Computer Science A, AP Statistics, AP Calculus BC, about 9. I might be forgetting some. Yeah, I see cello gang is representing. I'm gonna dismiss that. Should we go to every single workshop? Which ones would you highly recommend? Ooh, good question. Let me look at the schedule. All right, so thanks for coming to mine. That's the second one. If you went to yesterday's, I heard it was really cool. Machine learning is a really, really hot topic. If you want to learn more about the kind of coding I actually do, you want to go to my colleague Scott Blender's workshop tomorrow, because he's actually talking about the exact same technologies that I use every day. Sean is doing an introduction to AI and biology. If you want to go to hers, you have to register on her Google form early, because she wants to track her attendance through Google Forms. Emma's introduction to HTML and CSS is like the basics of web development and programming. So if you know zero programming, but you want to get started, that's a great place to start. The Google form is on our spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is in the Discord, but I can send the link again. Let me send the link. All right, so that's the spreadsheet. It's on the second tab of the spreadsheet. Okay, what else? Coin is actually a company I've worked with in the past. They're great, and they're also a high school startup. So they're doing an introduction to financial literacy, which is really, really important. If you don't know, we're currently in the middle of like an economic depression because of the pandemic. So being able to manage your finances is really important. I might show up, I don't know. Howie is one of my best friends. He's doing research in machine learning. So Howie is a national biology Olympiad medalist. And he's really, really insanely smart. And recently he's been playing around with using AI to like analyze cancer in the body. So I would highly recommend his workshop. Yeah, and then of course you'll see Esteban's workshop during the closing ceremony because he's our closing speaker. So I would say our best workshops are probably Howie's, Coin's, Emma's if you're new to programming, and probably Scott's. Those are like my favorite four. Sean is kind of similar to Howie's actually. So you can pick one of those two, I would say. All right, other questions. What's your favorite subject? Ooh, computer science is probably my favorite, but I also really like arts, which is weird, but I like both science and arts. I'm pretty abnormal. I don't really have a favorite subject, actually. Should we go to every single workshop? Oh, I already answered that one. Whoops. Are all of your employees high school students? I think we have one college student. How do you get the biology Google form? It's right here in the spreadsheet. Let me send it in the chat again. Okay, cool. That's done. A little bit unrelated, but what courses would you recommend a freshman or a junior to take? Are you aware that freshman is 9th grade and junior is 11th grade? That's a pretty big jump. Courses for a freshman, I would say take Computer Science A, AP Computer Science A, because it's a really, really good class, and you learn a ton. And it's really, really important for computer science if you're interested in computer science. Plus, it's one of the only AP courses you can take in 9th grade. Other than that, your courses are basically set in 9th grade. Like there's not much flexibility. Someone else asks, what coding language do you use? I use JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and that's basically it. 9th to 10th grade. Okay, yeah. Okay, so in 9th grade, I picked AP Computer Science A. And in 10th grade, I did a bunch of AP classes. I did AP World History, which is one of my favorite classes. But now they cut the curriculum because College Board is an idiot. So it's not my favorite class anymore. Back then, it was a good class. What else? I also took AP Statistics, which is probably one of my favorite classes of all time. Yeah, those are my two AP classes in 10th grade. So over the course of 9th and 10th grade, I took about 3 APs. I took Comp Sci A, Statistics, and World History. Outside of that, the courses really depends on your school and what's offered in your school district. As a middle schooler, how do you recommend us starting on coding and finance? Great question. Like really, really solid question. How do you start? That's a hard question for a number of reasons. The summer before high school, I started learning programming from Java, and there was like a local tutor. His name was Min Zhang, and he does computer science lessons. So I just learned from him. However, there are all types of ways you can learn on your own. A great one is on udemy.com. Their courses are about like $12 to $20 each, but they have a lot of really, really good courses on a ton of stuff. And programming is one of them. So if you're interested in programming or finance or anything really, I recommend Udemy. Udemy has a lot of good courses. If you want a free resource, Khan Academy normally works pretty well. Their JavaScript courses are decent. And their finance courses are also decent. That's all of the questions. Does anyone else have any more before we close this thing up? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. Cool. If we don't have any more questions, I think we're done. So thank you everyone for coming. This was really fun. I really see a lot more people in this room than I expected. So yeah, thank you for coming again. I really hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, just ping me on Discord. My handle is DanielWei15. Wei is spelled W-E-I. That's all. You are free to leave now. I'm just gonna hang behind in case anyone asks any final questions. Someone asked, do you have any tips for relieving stress with tests or assignments? I saw a really, really good TED Talk actually for relieving stress. And here's how you think about it. Don't think of stress as a bad thing. Don't. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress is your body's natural response to anything that's demanding of you, right? So when you see a test coming up and you're stressed, don't focus on how bad it is that you're stressed. Instead, focus on channeling that stress as dedication. I need to study for this test because I'm stressed. Because I'm stressed, I know I can be focused, so I can study harder. That's how you relieve stress. You can't take it away, you can only manage it. And you should channel it in a productive manner. If you think of stress as a bad thing, it does bad things to your body. But weirdly enough, if you think of stress as a good thing, it doesn't do anything to your body. It's not harmful at all. There's a bunch of medical studies done on that. Someone else asked, what is the Discord server link? Oops, let me send that. The Discord server link is in the chat. Okay, someone else asked, when did you start competitive coding? I started in the summer before 9th grade. Don't worry about starting late. Starting late is never an issue. There's like this crazy thing where a bunch of like Asian kids that I know are competing to like start competitive math and stuff at like 6th grade and 5th grade. And like, honestly, that's kind of scary. I think if you start late, it doesn't matter that you start late. It just means you have to work hard. But everyone has to work hard. That doesn't change anything, you know? Ooh, lots of questions. Okay. A lot of people miss these questions. Emily asks, what major do you want to study? Probably computer science, but I want to study computer science with like an emphasis on design and how it intersects with like art, because I find that really, really fascinating. Andy asks, what is the best way to learn coding? Ooh, good question. Take an actual class. If you can take an actual class, take a class. Having a solid teacher with a real curriculum helps a lot. If that's not the way to go for you, if you can't afford that, or if you can't, because of the pandemic, can't make any in-person classes, then Udemy has a lot of online courses you can take. Would you recommend AP Chem or AP Physics? I like physics, so I would recommend AP Physics. But both classes are, I've heard both classes are great. If you like memorization and like chemistry and molecules and that type of stuff, I would say take Chem. If you like more flexible, but not necessarily easier, like it's really not easier, it's just more logic-based sciences that's grounded in like these idealized versions of the world, you can take physics. Do I have any class recommendations? AP Computer Science A. Don't take AP Computer Science Principles because it's a really, really dumb class and it might actually mess you up. Take AP Computer Science A, letter A. Okay, that's all the questions again. If you want to leave, the workshop is done, so you can definitely leave now. If you have any final questions, you can also ask them. Thanks for coming, y'all. I'm going to end the workshop now. See you guys.